Hey everybody, thank you for checking back in to our weekly live broadcast. This is Winning at Work, and this is just a fun way for me to connect with fellow HR professionals and give you the tips and tools that you need to win at work. This week, we are joined by Tracy Sponenberg. And Tracy, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where in the world you are, and why you have that Tombstone movie poster in the background?
Hey, Joey, thanks for having me. I'm the Chief People Officer for a company called the Granite Group, and we have 45 locations all over New England, but we're headquartered in Concord, New Hampshire, which is also where I live. So you can see this is my home office, whichever way I see. You see my movie posters here. So these are actually from my parents' house, the house I grew up in, and I rescued them when my parents downsized a number of years ago. And my mom passed away a couple of months ago, and so like they become even more meaningful to me. So that's like a little piece of her that I have every day when I'm staring into a camera looking at things.
Yeah, I love the well, first of all, there's like this Twitter account called like Rate My Skype Room or something, and it's kind of cool because they take a look at people's different backgrounds and stuff. But I love the sentimental touch. We've got Kayla says she loves you, so you already have a fan already on
I
the
love
on.
Kayla back. Yes, I truly do.
Kayla, thanks for joining us on this show today. But yeah, I love when there's a personal touch to something that's in the room and a story behind it. So that's cool. I know I put you on the spot with the posters,
No, that's
but
okay. You can see Baby Yoda and other way, Baby Yoda and a few other little things in the back. So it kind of it makes me feel grounded to have things that I love. My
yeah,
kids,
that is so
obviously, my kids and my husband are back there too.
that's so great. And one of the other things that I wanted to do is I wanted to play a game, Two Truths and a Lie. So for those of you that are tuning into this live, Tracy's about to share two truths and one lie about herself, maybe work related, maybe personal, who knows? We shall see. But I want you to guess which one is the lie. And no prizes this time, but we'll definitely shout you out if you got the right answer. So,
Okay.
Tracy, what are your two truths and a lie?
Okay. And I went personal. It's a little bit more fun.
All
So
right.
I have a tattoo of Mickey Mouse. I drove around a famous band in my Mercury Capri in college, and I've never skied.
All right. So, Tat of Mickey drove, or followed a band. So, like you followed a band from city to city.
No, I drove them in
Drove a
my
band.
Capri,
All right,
allegedly.
drove a band. Okay, all right. So Tracy was like the Uber of the entertainment world for a while. Or we have you've never been skiing. That's a tricky one. Assassin one says, "Hello, Tracy and Joey. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for
Hi.
joining us.
Yeah, Sasu.
Quick wave. All right, so I am gonna go with the lie has to be you've never been skiing because there's no way that you. Teresa says Mickey Mouse tattoo. She thinks that that's the lie. Hey, Teresa. She thinks that that's the lie. I think that the lie is that you have never been skiing because how do you live in the Northeast and not even wear shoes skiing to go get your mail in the wintertime?
That
Hold on.
Teresa's
There's
right.
some more. There's
Oh,
some more.
so
There's some more. Gary thinks that never skied is a lie. So hey Gary, how you doing, man? Gary's all the way in England. He's got a really
hey,
awesome
Gary.
show. So Gary Turner thinks that you've never skied is a lie, and John Thurman is going to go with the tattoo. He thinks that the tattoo is a lie.
Yep,
Uh,
John and Teresa.
Tamika says
Oh,
you've
sorry.
never. Yeah, can you
Still
see the
coming
chat?
here.
There's some coming in. So Kamika thinks that the lie is you've never skied too. So we've got some folks on my side here who think that that's the lie.
Yeah, I have never skied. So I've lived in New Hampshire my whole life.
What?
So I know, that's kind of strange. I hate winter, but grew up here, still here. Sometimes I'm not sure why. Right now it's beautiful, so I'll take it. But the tattoo is a lie. I do have a tattoo, but it's not of Mickey Mouse.
Is it okay? Maybe is it Baby Yoda?
It's not. No, I've had my husband and I have matching tattoos from a song that are our song. So
Uh,
we have matching tattoos there. And the band is True. It was only once, and it was Arrested Development. And so another time I'll get
what?
into that if anybody wants to know the whole story. So
All
they were
right.
not happy to be riding in a two-door Mercury Capri. So
So Tracy, next time there's, after COVID, after we've controlled COVID and we're all together at a conference again, we have to do some karaoke and you have to do some Arrested Development.
yes.
That's just number one. So all right, so I was loud and wrong. I thought it was skiing, but do you have any desire to ski ever or
None.
no?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Maybe strap on some cross country skis if I get really desperate this winter, but never downhill. Not going to
All
do it.
right, all right. Well, Gary says, awesome. Want to best more about, or I guess hear more about that. So if you see Gary on Twitter, and you know Gary, right? Gary Turner. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
go into that story a little bit more. And
Okay.
John says he would have guessed it was an Aha tattoo.
John knows me well. Aha was my favorite band, still my favorite song, still my favorite band.
Like, well, I guess there's still
That's
time
a
for
good
that
idea.
tattoo.
Sadly,
Yeah,
no, but that's a great idea.
good idea, John. All right, so this week for winning at work, we're talking about confidence, and I think this is something that people struggle with is having confidence in themselves, having confidence in their ability to do their job well, and just confidence. Sometimes like, am I working for the right place?
Hmm.
And Tracy, I think you're a great person to talk about this because you are a former introvert or maybe still introvert turned confidence expert extraordinaire. Is that fair to say, or did I oversell it?
They totally oversold it, but I'm still an introvert. I'm super red. That's my only tell when I talk. Most people don't realize it, but introverts can speak. It's just harder. I almost threw up before, and I'll go take a nap after, and that's how we get through things. But yeah, I struggled with confidence pretty much my whole life until recently. So I'm 48, and it took me until I was probably 42, 43, 44 to really come into my own and to really embrace who I was, which really is a huge key of confidence.
Okay. Well, so and if you're watching this live, why don't you go ahead and hit that share button? Tracy's about to really get into her story, and we want more people to hear about it. So go ahead, hit that share button, drop some love, show some love in the comments. But Tracy, what would you tell your 24-year-old self now that you've crossed 44? What would you tell them about being confident?
I think it's a journey. And I think there are some people, and I know them and I love them, who are born with confidence and who are young and exude it and just really lead with authority and confidence that I didn't find till I was much later. And then I think there are those that, like me, that find it quite a bit later. And then there are those that never do. And I think confidence is essential to leading, whether you're an HR leader, whether you are a business leader, whether you're a student, whether you're whatever you want to do. Confidence is just believing in yourself, really. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but essentially it's believing in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, then who's going to believe in you and why should they? Really?
Well, so how do you start to believe in yourself?
So I spent my whole career, I think, a good chunk of my career being, and I talk about this a lot, being a traditional HR. And by that, I mean policy driven, chasing people down for signatures on forms, leading with compliance and thinking that that was the way it had to be. And I wasn't happy. And something clicked as I was approaching 40, I think, and just realized that maybe I wasn't giving my best to my company and giving my best to myself. And I was always doing a good job. I think I always did well. People liked me. I was always worried about that. And I always was focused on, why does this person get to do that? Or how can I be like that person? Or that person has something that I really admire. Why am I not like that? So I was really looking externally for validation. And it wasn't until I started looking internally that I really found it. And so for me, it was a shift, and it was a personal shift. And I think that with a confidence shift, that has to happen. Certainly, a lot of things can happen in the business world to make you more confident, but you really have to have a personal mindset shift. And for me, that started with getting healthy. And one of the biggest things for me, and there was an article I read recently and shared in a presentation from Forbes, and it connects this to business, exercise. So huge thing for me. If I start every weekday by exercise, and this isn't I'm not super thin. I'm not, some CrossFit warrior, but I do something every day and it helps me set the day. And that helps me feel better, and that helps me feel more confident. And, you start to accomplish small things. Stand up for yourself. You try to do things that make you happy and focus on yourself and do that and put yourself first. And then things will follow. So I think as a woman, and this isn't exclusive to women, certainly, and we're seeing this a lot with the pandemic, with parents and with others who are caregivers, that, sometimes you don't put yourself first, and you really have to think about yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And it's almost impossible to be confident in business if you're not confident in life, and if you're not taking care of yourself first in life.
Tracy, you dropped some gems there, and you said a lot that I want to spend some time unpacking. I think the first thing that I want to unpack, though, is I've heard this quote, and I want to know your thoughts on it. And definitely, if you're watching this, and if you have a question for Tracy about confidence and having confidence in yourself, feel free those questions with us. But I've heard a quote said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I would equate joy and confidence being somewhat similar, or at least related at the very least, because how can you be confident if you're not joyful and excited and,
Right.
things like that? So as you navigated through your journey, you said you mentioned that you stopped comparing yourself with other people. So for someone listening and they're thinking, oh, I'm not comparing myself, what are some of the telltale signs that you would see in someone that might be comparing themselves a little too much or maybe unhealthily?
Jealousy, instead of, and I'm certainly guilty of all of this, and instead of seeing someone that you know and that you respect who is getting to do something really cool, instead of going, wow, good for them, go, well, how do they get to do that? So that's certainly happened. And so if you think that, yeah, I'm good with myself, and you see yourself engaging in that kind of behavior, or behaviors that are not supportive, that are competitive, and I don't mean competitive in the business sense, like you want to succeed and you want to win, but competitive at the expense of other people, I think those are some telltale signs that maybe there's a problem there. And I do think that is absolutely true. I think, one of the conversations I had with my mom a few months ago, and I mentioned her earlier, was she's like, I've never seen you this happy.
Mhm.
And that's tied a lot to confidence. And when you can feel good about yourself, you're going to do better at work, and you're going to do, because you're going to do better at life.
Yeah, yeah. So happiness is a gift. Happiness is a great thing. You had mentioned something earlier with regard to like getting to a breaking point. Was there a particular, like, was it one breaking point for you, or was it a series of things that kind of just built momentum and you were like, all right, I need to shift. I need to do something different.
I saw a picture of myself. That was one, and I just looked miserable and not great, and it was always the person who was avoiding the camera and avoiding things like that. And then I had recently gotten out of a job that I was really uh, unsatisfying and really difficult. And I don't mean difficult in a way that I couldn't do the work, but a difficult culture. And it
Hmm.
was a really, really bruising experience. And I ended up in an environment that was supportive, but was hyper challenging. And I really wanted to rise to the occasion. And eventually I did. But it did take me a little bit of spinning my wheels and really trying to discover where I fit in and where I needed to be in that organization.
Yeah. So let's talk about confidence in different aspects of an employee journey. Um, let's talk about confidence in the recruiting process. What tips would you give to someone who may be looking for a job, um, about how to present confidently, how to present themselves confidently? And I'm not just talking about like in interviews and stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's, we should talk about that. But maybe are there some hidden gems that you might share about even in your resume or your LinkedIn profile or something else that would get a recruiter's attention or hiring manager's attention of like, wow, they seem to know what they're talking about. What tips would you have?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest things is networking. And now, when I'm sure there are interviews happening in person, and I know there's probably more and more, but networking and reaching out and not being afraid to reach out to someone, whether it's on LinkedIn or via Twitter or whatever social media method, or even email or picking up the phone, not to be afraid to reach out to someone that you find interesting, whether that's a person at an organization you want to work at, or if that's just someone that you want to connect with. It's all about relationships in life. And that was tied, my lack of networking was tied to my lack of confidence for a long period of time. So if somebody's starting out, I think starting out with that networking, and it is hard for some people, it's a huge challenge, that can make you seem more confident if you send an email out of the blue. And maybe it will get ignored, but maybe it won't. And just if you know who you are, I think you have to know who you are and what you stand for. That's a little bit hard if you're just starting out or if you're in transition. But if you know who you are and what you stand for, that's going to go a long way toward projecting that confidence. And then showing curiosity, asking questions. I think that curiosity and confidence are pretty closely tied.
I love that. So curiosity is another word for that I have for winning at work. So
I know.
confidence, curiosity. Yeah. Oh, so you're right on board there. But I agree. I think curiosity says something that I'm not afraid to admit that I don't know something, and I'm also not afraid to be challenged to grow in a positive direction. And I think that that's part of confidence at work to say, hey, if I'm in this job interview, you know, Tracy, you hire people, you talk in circles with recruiters. One of the worst things you can do is get to the end of an interview and not have questions. So when I look at people who don't have questions, it either shows you're too confident or you're not confident enough to say, hey, so there's something that I need to understand and I don't understand it yet. So help me out with that.
Right, right. Always ask questions. There are always questions to ask. I am inherently skeptical of someone who asks no questions. But I hadn't thought of it from that. Maybe they're just so confident that there's nothing more to ask. But that normally I'm inherently skeptical of that.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the whole point of having this conversation, right? We're peeking behind the curtain for HR people to share, those tips to win. And so you heard it here. If you don't ask those questions, that's not a good look. Dacia says this is so noteworthy. When you feel good about yourself, you're going to do better at work because you feel good about life. She said, amazing. So that's definitely you've got to turn that into a social post or
Yeah,
something because
I
you're
did write
inspiring.
about that.
Say what?
I wrote about that. I did write about that because I started running and I hate it. It's terrible. I still hate it and I don't
Uh,
run, but it makes me feel good and
yeah,
it challenges me. So, but I want to be clear that not everyone's journey is fitness and wellness and things like that. I think that it does help. I think some form of exercise, that could be a 5 minute stroll around the neighborhood or walking in place for 10 minutes. I think that sets a day or some kind of meditation, but I want to be clear that that's not everyone's journey is the same.
yeah. Well, let me tell you a fun story about that, about it not being everyone's journey. Hey, Melanie, you can definitely catch
Hi,
the
Melanie.
replay. Once this is over, you'll be able to see it, I believe, on the LinkedIn and on the Periscope, and wherever it was playing, there will be replays. So definitely you can check it from the beginning, and you can find out about Tracy's cool tattoo. I'm just going to tease that part. But but we were talking about man, what were we talking about? See, Melanie, I'm all.
I know
Wait, let's backtrack. Oh,
about what you had a story
running and
on
fitness.
fitness.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
running and
yeah,
fitness,
yeah.
and it's not everyone's journey. So I don't know if you saw, but I recently did a podcast in VR, and it was with Matt Burns and the Global HR Summit, and it was really really cool. First ever uh, summit in HR or in VR. And I was looking on my watch one day. I have an Apple Watch, and it's one of the like activities you can do is fitness gaming. And I was like, that sounds so weird, but I have this VR headset. It's got some games on it. You got to move around to do it. Let me just hit this and see what happens. And
Great.
afterwards, I felt pretty good.
Yep.
And that's exercise. If you're playing on a controller or a headset or whatever, as long as you're moving, you're burning calories. And I think there's some science to it of like you release good vibes and good things and all that
Yep.
stuff. But
Yeah,
movement
and
helps. It doesn't
movement
have
helps.
to
You
be.
can gamify anything. You can gamify anything. My son does Ring Fit. It's a Nintendo uh I think it's a DS thing. I should know. He's in college, and he's going to be super embarrassed if he ever sees this that I mentioned it. But it's a video game that challenges you to do different exercises, and you put the controller in different parts. And I think it's brilliant because if you have kids that love video games and or adults that love video games, and it gets them to work out, it's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So find way to get some activity in your life and take it from Tracy. You'll feel a lot confident. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Endorphins. Thank you, Sandra. Sandra coming through with the word of the day. And the word of the day is endorphins. For all my HR pros out there, see how we can help our employees get more endorphins through good activity and movement. Even with Zoom, I think. Would it be cool, or is it stupid to have like a Zoom boot camp where you're like doing exercises and stuff together? I don't know if that's a good idea.
I think
You
it's
guys let me
cool.
know if
I'm
you
not
do
going
a
to do
Zoom
it.
boot camp. Say what?
I'm not going to do it. I'm an introvert. I don't want anyone to see me exercising. I'll do it on my own, but I think it's a cool idea.
All right. Well, maybe there's something to it. Maybe I have to get some fitness person to come on the show, or HR pro who's big into fitness, and they can give some activities we can do to stretch and all that. So we talked about confidence in the hiring process, but let's talk about confidence in those first 90 days. Um, what and knowing that a lot of turnover happens in the first 90 days because people get to a job and realize, oh, this isn't for me, or maybe they oversold themselves, maybe they were too confident, right? And so there's a separation there. But what does healthy confidence look like from your perspective in the first 90 days, or that first kind of getting to know you period once you've joined a new place?
I think that's the scariest time when you're going into a new job, whatever your role is in that job. That first, 60, 90 days is really, um, really tough. And I think for me anyway, that's when the imposter syndrome would set in, and why am I here? When you're imposter syndrome, when you are actually qualified, but your mind tricks you, or you trick yourself into thinking that you're really not. So that can set in. So if you get past that, and you actually are confident, I think it's just giving yourself some grace and letting yourself acknowledge that you don't know everything, because you can't come in. You may have all of these experiences that you've built up coming into this new organization, but you're not going to come in and know everything. So even if you know everything about your job that you're going into, you may be the most qualified HR professional, you may be the most qualified engineer, you may be the most qualified whatever. you're not going to know about the culture and the politics and the office politics and the inner workings of this organization unless you've been there before. So you just need to give yourself a little bit of a break. Come in, stay confident, and recognize that you'll hit some bumps and you'll make mistakes, and that's totally okay. That's going to happen.
Tracy, I love that. If I could paraphrase, have confidence that you don't need to know everything. You
Mm,
know, have confidence that you'll make mistakes and that's okay. You won't know the key people that you need to know and that's okay. That's not to say don't learn it because you absolutely need to know who the real power players are at work. But you're going into a new environment. Have some grace for yourself, and your teammates should have some grace for you as well. What are
yep.
some so in your career trajectory, you weren't confident for a while, frustrations mounted, you hit a turning point and you said, I'm just going to do me. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be excited about life. For those people who aren't there yet, uh, what tips would you give to say, hey, here's how I turned the corner, and here's how I'm confident at work.
I think leaning on others is a huge thing. And I mentioned network earlier and relationships being everything, but I tend to have a handful of really close friends. I had zero network until a few years ago. And I surrounded myself with people once I got to that point where I was like, hey, I need to change my life here. Surrounded myself with people who were supportive and who I could go to with questions and who I could support as well and who I could lean on and who I could share things with. And not everyone listening to this is in HR, but HR can be a really lonely place. And I think that's really critical to have that network. And it's confidence is a journey. I still struggle from time to time. I think we all do, but I think it's a muscle that you can build. It really is something that you can grow, but you don't do it alone. You can't do it by yourself. It starts with you, but it doesn't end with you. You need others to support you, to champion you, to mentor you, to help you grow, and to help you educate yourself. Learning is never ending. I learn every day. I've been in the field for 25 years, but I continue to learn and grow every day. And the minute you stop is the minute you start to lose your confidence.
I love it. Confidence is a muscle. Confidence is a muscle. That's great. Well, and Tracy, how can people connect with you? Where can people find you? Are there any cool messages or any cool projects you're working on that you want to share? Gary says he loves this message. Being vulnerable is an important behavior to practice for all stages of career. Gary, I agree. I agree. Vulnerability is something that we can all work through and be
Yep.
better at. Um, Tracy, how can people find you and connect with you?
Sure. So I'm a full-time practitioner. So doing these things is really cool, and I get to do fun things, and I get to do presentations and interviews once in a while. But my day to day is a chief people officer for the Granite Group. So most days you can find me there, but I'm pretty active in social media, and you can find me at Tracie with an IE, Tracy Spon on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me at Tracy Sponenberg on LinkedIn. And I have a website that badly needs to be updated that just has a list of the things I'm going to do and the places I'll be at tracysponenberg.com. But I'd love to connect, particularly with anybody who's on their journey or who's in the field or outside of the field. I think our networks are richer if we have people who aren't just like us. We have people who add to our lives instead of fit in our lives.
I couldn't
So
agree
reach out.
more. I couldn't agree more. Definitely tap into Tracy, y'all. She's doing some incredible things. Newer to the blog scene, to the speaking scene, but has hit the ground running and is doing some cool things to pay attention to. Paul said that this convo has been brilliant. Hey, Paul, it's my brother from another mother, all the way out
There you go.
in Seattle, Washington. And Daisha says, being kind to yourself works wonders. So I think on that note, we'll end on some positivity. I hope you all have a more confident week this week. And Tracy, thanks for joining me on the program.
Great. Thanks for having me, Joey.
All right. I'll
Have
see
a
you
good
all
week.
next week, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Make sure that you share this out with everybody, and we'll be back next week.